to executive session. Council will adjourn to executive session for a conference with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS section 24-6-4024B for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators under CRS section 24-6-4024E. Discussion will be held on the city manager's contract. Okay, we'll pause the city council workshop and we'll go to executive session. And when we're finished with the executive session, we'll return to the workshop. So grab your phones. Mute yourself. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I can't get my video to come on. It says the host has stopped the video. Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, the time is now 6:35 and the executive session has concluded. The participants in this executive session were Rachel Medina, Arlena Yazzie, Amy Huckins, David Rainey, Robert Dobry, Mike Green, John Doherty, and myself, Michael J. Levy. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matter not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is interview with Lucia Story for an open seat on the Parks, Rec, and Forestry Advisory Board. Okay. We're going to interview Lucia Story. Lucia, are you on board?
I am.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We understand you're running for open seat on the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Advisory Board. Could you identify yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Lucia Story. I've been, I guess, a resident of Montezuma County since 1997. I'm also a practice owner in the city of Cortez, Montezuma Hearing Clinic. I'm an audiologist. In my leisure fun time, I also am a fitness instructor, although there's very little of that going on now. I guess professionally, that's about it. I'm a mother of 4 girls. I don't know. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
I have a question. Have you gone to the rec center very often? Are you familiar with the operation there?
Oh, yes. In fact, I was teaching when we reopened. I was teaching. I'm a body pump instructor. Mm-hmm. And so I was teaching in the summer months when we were teaching outside. And then when they brought the classes in, when it got too cold. And so of course we'd have to wear a mask. And so it was okay for me that if I had to teach, like I can't teach with a mask on, and I'm not sure anybody can do some of the fitness required with a mask on. So we just decided to kind of wait till things kind of get back to normal. And hopefully I can get back to the rec center again.
Thank you. Are you okay with the existing mask rulings at the rec center?
Well, with like going in and then going into your workout area, yeah, that part there is fine. Okay. Not so much like if you're doing anything that's cardio related and having that mask in your face, that's very hard to breathe. Mm-hmm. I have an exercise-induced asthma, so anything that's going to restrict my breathing can be very hard for me. So no, going to the rec center and actually going in there with a mask and then going to your spot, and taking it off, I think that works out really well.
Thank you. Counsel, any other questions? Lucia? Okay. Well, thank you, Lucia, for applying for us. I think Arlena has a question now or comment.
Yeah, did we already ask what interests you about this position?
Oh, well, I'd like to, I've always been interested in improving quality of life. And so I find that being a voice representing our community, I know that living in Cortez has added value to just being able to enjoy what we have to offer here. And I feel like this is just one aspect. Being an audiologist, I work a lot with, a wide range of patients, but most of them are elderly patients, veterans. And so anything that I can do to improve their quality of life, and whether it's bringing culture to the area. And I did attend one of the meetings that they had, and to kind of get an idea. And I'm definitely interested in it. I think anything that we can do to add to what we have to offer in the city is great.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Thank you very much for attending, Lucia, and we'll discuss your appointment during the regular meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Good night.
Good night, sir, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is the update on the master streets plan. City planner Tracy Hughes.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Hopefully sharing my screen. So if I may, I'd like to just kind of go over some background on this, and then Neva's going to show you guys some online materials that have been developed, and then after that we'll discuss and take some questions. So the street plan is a plan for future street alignments as growth and development occurs. It, generally in different cities in Colorado, they can come in various shapes and sizes. So, they can literally just be a paragraph in a comprehensive plan, or they can be a full-blown document in and of themselves with, 20 to 200 pages, and cover multimodal and transportation planning comprehensively. This plan is really a street plan. We're really just looking at how to get street alignments planned for and reserved, basically. We started working on this a while back, around the same time that the land use code came on board and the 3 Mile plan. And at this point, I think we're really just trying to focus on this one chunk of all those documents and try and get this off the ground. So Doug Roth and the city engineer and our public works director, again, when this first started, worked on drawing these alignments on the map, and Doug will go into that in a little more detail. Planning staff wrote the draft text to basically put in a policy what we have been doing for years, which is reviewing county subdivisions, and if there is a proposed street alignment, requesting that a right-of-way or an easement be reserved where really a street is needed. So for the most part, we haven't actually, in the time I've been here, asked for any right-of-way or an easement on a subdivision plat. But that the text that goes with this map basically just explains that's what we're going to do, explains the plat certificates, and keeps it all advisory. Right now, there's not a lot of hard and fast language in these documents, in my opinion. So last fall, city staff decided to scale back and focus on the 1 Mile area. The Planning and Zoning Commission was okay with that. They asked staff to meet with county staff, which we did. And then county staff said, well, we really want you to go all the way out to 3 miles. So Planning Commission said that was okay too. And so now the map that you see on your screen is the full 3 Mile area. And this Thursday, the County Planning and Zoning Commission will meet and discuss this. And then pretty much, the next steps are going to be to conduct public outreach, which during the current times is going to be virtual and will involve our websites and a public Zoom meeting that will focus just on the master street plan. That way, that's the only topic that will be discussed. and then, basically a call for comments. So you can, hopefully this will show up when I minimize that. These are kind of our proposed timelines. They're very much proposed. They're not set in stone. We can move the dates further out as needed, but for right now, we're kind of on track. We're right here with our January 12th workshop. We're sharing the documents with council, and we're sharing P&Z's direction, which so far is basically we're staying the course. They've said they're fine with the 3-mile area. They're fine with the plan text. They're waiting for feedback from the public and from the county planning and zoning commission. And I'll also note we sent a request for comments out to agencies, who typically would use easements for utilities and such, and then also to the hospital. So they might review it or send it out to ambulance services or other emergency management. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug and Chad, and they're just going to briefly explain the technical merits, and then we're going to get Neva to show us the website. So I'm going to stop. Well, Doug, do you want me to keep sharing the map?
Yeah, why don't you just keep sharing the map, Tracy?
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to go over the history a little bit about how this was created. So using the GIS, I was the one that primarily was hands-on in creating this document. And the history of this, I came up with the first new draft of the Master Streets Plan around 2008. And that draft was based on the last adopted Master Streets Plan in 1999, I believe. So it did very much start with the last adopted plan, took those routes into consideration. Most of those routes do actually remain on this plan. The original plan wasn't very consistent in that it didn't really take in the entire 3-mile area. So the revisions that we did is we did create a streets plan out to 3 miles, and we also consistently added detailed connections within the city limits as well. So that's one interesting and important thing is that it really does show, if you zoom into this PDF or use one of the online maps, that it does show in-city street connections, also very important to this document. And based on one of the comments we received a couple months ago, it does show not only where we're looking to connect streets, but where we have dedicated right-of-way without streets being built in it. So that's one important thing to consider when you're reviewing this document. And like Tracy said, these street connections have been vetted with staff input. And we've had a few added, a few taken out. And really the intent being involved in this is to show point A to point B connectivity to connect streets. It's not really intended to show exact alignments. Those would be determined by the developer as they come in with a subdivision or development plan. It's more intended to essentially draw a line where we would need a future street connection. And it's certainly these lines, it's not an engineering feasibility study in a way. We didn't really look at the cost feasibility of creating these roads. It's just about creating and maintaining connections. So with that, the goal is to have through streets and reduce the number of dead end, one in, one way out subdivisions as as things develop. Particularly the example would be outside of the city and the county. Often you have that if you don't have proper planning, then you just have a subdivision and it comes in and it dead ends and it comes out onto more of a arterial or connector road. So how we drew some of these lines, sometimes out in the county, it was simply, if the county's on 1 mile grids, it would simply be drawing a road at the half-mile line and bisecting that section essentially, just to show that we need some more connections. And that's essentially how this was drawn, adopted as a document. I think we all feel it's fairly complete, but we do want comments. So I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
Just a couple of comments. First one is, when the county looked at this, they did so with their road superintendent to see if this generally makes sense. The other thing I think is super important for everyone to know, the public for sure, and landowners, is new roads will be triggered by development. And these aren't going to be constructed if there is no development to serve. And it would be done, and the alignments would be determined in alignment with what makes sense for that development. So, this is a general plan, and it'll get refined as other developments appear within the county. And we'll just work with county staff and the developers to work through where the roads and the connections should be made.
And I will say also, historically, this plan, the late 90s plan that was adopted, was utilized, and we have seen some successes on that. For instance, 7th Street was not built all the way. It wasn't built past Southern Bluff subdivision. It is now built all the way out to County Road 27. And also this was a pretty important plan to have in place when Brandon's Gate development came through, so that we tied in all those street connections. So these plans in real time do get utilized.
This is Rachel. So is this map available online or printed out at City Hall for council to have like a more in-depth look at it?
There are lots of maps at City Hall. All the different versions are printed out at City Hall. It's available online through the agenda packets. It's really only recently that we've sort of landed on our final version that, we're ready to vet, more thoroughly. So we are hoping to get this more out there in the virtual environment. And I think right now I'm going to stop sharing so that Neva can share the draft website.
Can I throw something in? Does council want large maps that they can look at? Do you want the blueprint size maps made for you? All you have to do is ask, because these things can be infuriating on the little screen. So if you want the 3x5s or whatever they are, just ask and we'll get them to you.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. This is Neva online here. And on your screen, I have put together all of Tracy and Doug and the Master Street Plan Group's work onto a website. And so it basically takes the text from Tracy's documents and puts it on to a form that most of us are familiar with, the internet. So when we do make this site live, right now it's just in draft form and it's hidden from, it's not published yet. But when we're ready, it's ready to go. So we'll have the map available for download. Let's go back. We kind of have a description of what the Master Street Plan is, how the Master Street Plan is used. We have links to all of the text and the maps. Doug put together an interactive GIS map, and we'll have a link to that. And so Doug is still working on this, but he has a plan to actually allow people to comment directly on the map. And so that will be available to all of us. We have some text bars down here. One thing we have on here is, I'm sorry. Preview, okay. So we have an option for people to participate. We'll have a form that people can fill out if they have questions or concerns. They can sign up for email link. They'll be notified of P&Z Commission and City Council meetings where the Master Street Plan is going to be discussed. We'll have some frequently asked questions. We'll have the authority if anyone's interested in why we have a Master Street Plan. So this is ready to go, and we get the go-ahead to publish this online. It's ready to go.
Can I ask a quick question?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, yeah, this is Becky. So this is awesome. I really like all the layers in the website. I just wanted to know if there might be some photographic examples of the street classifications, like there was in our packet that we received earlier.
Right. Okay, yeah, so on this quick link under street classifications, that goes right to the document that Tracy put together in the P&Z packet. So, is this what you're looking for?
Yeah, I just think it's really helpful to have a visual representation in the real world when you're talking about street classification rather than just, it's 50 feet wide. Like, what does that actually look like and feel like?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
This is Robert. I just had a quick question about getting information out to the community as well. Is there a plan to do social media and share, basically directing people to the website to get as much information out as soon as possible? Because I know in the process, the community, we always do a lot of outreach, but the community is always sort of asking for more. So I wanted to make sure that we're kind of hitting all of the places where people are.
Right, yeah, we are gonna, John Brooks runs the social media page for the city. So we are gonna coordinate with him to get the notifications out on Facebook. And then we will also do some news flashes and info pushes on the main city website. So we're gonna try to go as many avenues as possible to get the information out for people.
Is there enough space in the timeline to fit in an additional Zoom outreach meeting? But like not the adoption outreach, but like the one before that, perhaps at like a different time for a different group of people, but have two options for people to attend.
Yes, we can certainly do that. And we are requesting feedback on that public outreach plan. So any additional activities we can do. I mean, the timeline really is arbitrary, frankly. So the more we want to put on there, we can push it out. It's kind of just a matter of prioritizing, and weighing the pros and cons of more outreach versus taking longer to adopt it.
Okay, thank you.
So I think, we were trying just to get through this because we only had the 20 minutes on the agenda. But we're, any other questions or any other comments, it's kind of, we just wanted to get through what we could, the high overview. So
Good evening, everybody. It's Phil Johnson. I just wanted to reiterate what Tracy said. If you all want more public engagement, now's the time to pull the trigger. This is why we just put this in front of you for your input and review. We're not in any hurry to get this thing moved through. It's something we have to do, but I don't want to feel like we're shortchanging anybody because you guys feel like you don't have enough time to think about it. So, this is just for you guys to look at and get back to us on.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate being able to talk about the outreach piece and that you guys have that included on there. I guess one other thought I just had would be, like, I imagine outreach meetings are gonna be recorded. Could those recordings also be posted through social media? Just to
Absolutely, yeah.
make
Bill
sure,
will take care of that.
absolutely.
Yeah, and we'd live stream it on the City of Cortez's YouTube channel. We'd hit it on every front that we could. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Hey, Phil, this is John. Can we also put a notice in the water bills?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I unmuted myself now. Next item is the update on streets and highway use tax fund with Director of Public Works, Phil Johnson.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. The highway use tax fund is an annual revenue we receive from CDOT based on vehicle registration, gas tax, and there's a formula that it shares it with the state, the counties, and the municipalities. And while we've never had this as an action item with council, I just wanted to bring it to your attention because you've never seen this. So I'm going to go ahead and share a couple of documents real quick that we can look at. Oh boy, that's not the right button. I almost left the meeting. That'd been funny. Okay, so can you guys see that? This is just an overall picture of the city that you've seen before, similar to what you just looked at with the street map, but this is our streets in the city. And this is just an improvement projects for 2020 that we did, some infrastructure improvements, gutter pans, the new light, which we did in concert with CDOT, and all the various ADA ramps and sidewalk repairs that we did as a part of that project. The other document is actually what shows, let me stop this and share a different one. So basically, that's what it is. It's a formula that's based on a couple of criteria that the state develops, and as a result, we get some money. And in 2018, we actually received $311,000 from the state. In 2019, our actuals received were $329,000. We budgeted $320,000 for this year, but of course, with the pandemic issues, we're planning. We're probably going to see a hit on that. And actually, in 2021, we reduced that budgetary number from $320,000 to $300,000 in a reaction to that. So this money is used for streets, street improvements. The staffing on the permanent, not the permanent fund, the general fund. Sorry. So I just wanted to let you know that that's what we're working on. That has to be signed by the mayor by the first week in February, which Linda's always handled in her office at City Hall. We'll just set it up to have the Mayor Levy show up at her office, because this is just a report. It's not a contract or anything like that. It's just an inventory of what we currently have. We send the report to them and then we receive some funding. There is some tweaking we have to do in this program, but we're going to be working that out this year with Mike and GIS with regards to a street map. So are there any questions on that? I just want to give you a heads up on that revenue stream from CDOT.
Phil, I have a question. So what's the breakdown of the surface type of the roads in the city?
The specific breakdowns?
Well, because it must have been the year before last that you paved that road, maybe Aspen, near the park. So, you know, I'm just wondering how many other roads we have that are gravel or dirt and not paved.
Okay, well, okay. Currently, right now, we have Kansas Street, which is a gravel street, Verde View, which is off of Oak on the south going to the Hawkins Preserve. There's half of Jarrett that is undeveloped. The north part of Jarrett was developed as a part of that subdivision process. The southern part wasn't. And I think there is a small section adjoining Kansas on the south end, but we are planning on chip sealing those this year. Not the Jarrett one, but Kansas, and also the one going to Verde View. The Verde View going to Hawkins Preserve, as well as up to South Cedar.
Okay.
So we will be doing improvements this year. Yeah.
Okay, because that road particularly is pretty bad.
And it gets used a lot, you know, with the Hawkins Preserve. And so, you know, we tried a couple of different things that, you know, they work temporarily, but this year we want to go ahead and get it chip sealed and, you know, get a hardscape so it'll be more durable.
Great.
Any other questions on the HUTF funds? Okay. So what I want to talk to you about tonight, as quickly as I can, is, you know, I mentioned to you last year when we talked about water that we wanted to look at streets. And so this year we have the, let's go here. I'm going to change pages. Let's see. This right here is the Multimodal Fund. Can you guys see that well? I'm going to go up to 125%. If I have to scroll left or right for you to see the map. And this is just the highlight map. This is the Montezuma corridor, as you can see, and we talked about doing the pedestrian crossings at various intersections, and we've highlighted almost every single one, but they don't have dual crosswalks in each one. We've tried to fit into the character of Montezuma, where if the bulb out has infrastructure in it, we're not going to cut through it and try to put a crosswalk through it. We're going to put it on one side of the intersection and then drive all the pedestrian traffic to it, as well as, let's see, this is the first one. Okay, so this is to the west, like on Linden. This is one where we're going to be doing all four corners. Can everyone see my stylus and the drawing? Or do you want me to zoom in some more? I can. How's that?
That's good.
Great.
Good. Okay. So in Linden, which is to the west, we're going to be doing all four corners because we need to make these compliant ADA ramps. And we're not having any of the boulevard effect at this juncture. We have the median on the right, and then the parking over by the dentist's office heading to the west. So that's that one. So when we look to a different intersection, like here, specifically North Elm, we're in the boulevard, the median area. So and we have overhead power here, we have a power pole here and then a lot of infrastructure. And so rather than try to make this a dual, crosswalk intersection over here in the northeast corner, I'm sorry, there is no infrastructure. So what we've done on intersections like this is we'll drive all the traffic to one side and then give them a crossing on one side, and then they can go either way from there. And that's typical. We've changed the treatments based on the existing infrastructure. And each of these ADA ramps are different. Like this one is not on a corner. It's just located adjoining an existing sidewalk. This one is a different ADA ramp, where this one is heading to the north, and this one is a wider with tapers heading to the east. So you can see there's different treatments on all of these ADA ramps, and that's all based on the existing condition and how we can cross Montezuma safely and not try to impact the effect of Montezuma, and deteriorate it any at all. Again, Beach Street, one side only. I'm not going to go, I don't want to, talk about these two. Well, this is a little different here because we don't even have corner ADAs. You can see there's how these on the old style of sidewalks where they would stop and then do 90-degree exits there at the corner. And then of course, we're just field fitting to get it, as best we can. Washington was another one with 4 because we had the ability, not 4, I'm sorry. You can see where we're driving all the traffic to the west, not going through this median again. That's another typical treatment. And Madison, same thing. And some of these are kind of hectic. With these are actually show pedestrian refuges, which actually cut through the median, and we'll have a return here, a small semicircle on the outside of the refuge. There's only been a couple of those. And then the last one to the east, to the east is actually Park Street, which has a compliant ADA ramp in the southeast corner. And then we'll just be doing replacements that fit best there. So that is Montezuma. And I know the other portion that we discussed at length was the Madison House project on the south side, which really kind of instigated this whole process for me. Was a call from a resident on South Madison about concerns for the residents of the Madison House having mobility issues getting to town and just getting up to be able to walk up and get groceries safely. So this is the portion of that multimodal options fund that's tied into the Montezuma project, which we're getting $146,000 from CDOT in matching funds to help offset these improvements. So this is Main Street up here on the top of the screen, South Madison. This is the car wash here, and farther south, right here, is the Madison House is on this block. And so the yellow triangle, yellow rectangles, is new sidewalk. The curb ramps are just like on the Montezuma drawings. I'm sorry this is so busy, but this has a lot of infrastructure on it. But all of these red demarcated shapes are ADA ramps. The yellow rectangle is new sidewalk. And then we'll continue on south with new ADA ramps on both sides of the street. We only developed sidewalk on the east side of South Madison, basically because of the number of trees on the west side. We would have had to taken down some very large trees to make that connectivity happen. So here we are again. This is first. This is the ADA ramps that we're just looking at the last sheet, and we're doing ADA ramp improvements in the area, crossings, some ramps, etc. Now, I know that Rachel, you had mentioned concerns about this block that goes around the Madison House itself, and it's not called out for construction because there's just a few areas there that we're going to be doing some maintenance work on. Couple of driveway crossings, 4 that are kind of cross slopes or too steep. We'll be addressing those, and there'll be some minor repairs. They're going to be less than $10,000, and we'll just work those out with the contractor as we get them on the ground. It's not going to really impact the overall cost of the project in that budgeting and bidding. But I did want to point that out because I know that you guys had mentioned that specifically for the Madison House. So I don't need really a lot of input from you guys tonight. I will send all of these visuals to you. We want to advertise this. I think, Chad, we were talking about in March or April. Are you still on there, Chad?
Yes, I am. Yes, you're right, Phil. I want to get them out early enough so we have enough time to construct this, do the cost share, and get as much work done as we possibly can within budget before bad weather. Kind of ran out of time this year. Don't want that happening next year.
Right. And we're looking at right now with the cost share, our estimates between Montezuma and the Madison projects, as well as a potential for city partnering with residents or businesses with overhead. We're looking at roughly $400,000. So right now, with our approved budget, we have $210,000 approved. 180,000 of that is for concrete cost share. 30,000 of that is for storm drain, which is curb and gutter and the like. That coupled with the $146,000 grant is going to bring us up to 356. So when bids come in, we may want to, depending on how you guys want to approach this, eliminate some of these crossings on Montezuma to balance the budget based on the appropriation that was approved, or we can get our bids and then we can ask you guys to add a little additional funding depending on what that is. But we won't know that until we get our bids in. But that is a potential for you guys that's going to come across your plate. Okay. So, do you guys have any questions on the Montezuma and Madison project? I know I machine gun this stuff, but I will send you the visuals and you guys can get back to me. That's fine. Okay. Let me let me just get on to the. Let's go ahead and look at the Montezuma project. That's not it. Stop share. So Montezuma and Mildred intersection. We've had some discussions. I know that I've seen some interest from y'all regarding a potential roundabout as opposed to just doing a stop sign controlled intersection. And we have, I know there has been discussions about that in the past, and Chad and I will dig those up and look at those if in fact you guys are wanting to look at something like that and look at the overall real estate impacts, because that's really what happens a lot. They take up a lot of land, and that's fine. And we'll just, that's a decision for you guys to make, but we're going to just present the data. But right now, we are planning on filling in the medians where the, I can't drive through that intersection anymore without looking at Plunger Alley, because that's what my wife told me it reminds her of. So thank you for that, Deborah. But anyway, the plungers will be filled in with curb and gutter as designed right now, with topsoil and sod, which to me is, I think to me, this intersection would be a missed opportunity if we did that. I think that, given the impact of this intersection with regards to the library, all the city parks, the police station, the rec center, the city hall, the welcome center, the pool, that, this really could be we could really make a statement at this intersection about, Cortez and we have a lot of people that are capable, like Mark Boblet and Sandy, who are, landscaping gurus in this area. They know, what they need to do and how it looks and how it survives. So, I don't have an issue with working out some kind of a roundabout, overview for you guys and give you some budget numbers, and you can look at them side by side and look at the real estate impacts and the costs and how you want to allocate that money. But no matter what you choose, I think that really we should look at, or I'd like for you, to look at, making a statement at this intersection, whether it's a demonstration gardens with xeriscaping, or if in fact a roundabout does come into play, some kind of a piece in the center of it, or the like. But the cost on Montezuma and Mildred right now, as submitted, which is just a four-way standardized controlled intersection without any statement work whatsoever, is about $200,000. So that's where we are. And so Chad and I will, kick around that roundabout and get it out to you guys, and you can kick it down the road from there.
We have a design. We looked at this about 2 years ago and laid it out. We have to lay it out for school buses, fire trucks, your occasional semi, and I'll just say it gets big. It just has to because of the turning radius. And with that, you have more pavement, more excavation, more curb and gutter. I'm a huge fan of roundabouts personally. Pedestrian crossings are a little tricky because traffic doesn't stop unless you signal it to stop in some way. So, those just add to the cost, but yeah, we'll resurrect that information, refresh the cost estimate and get it out to everybody.
I just want to make a comment. I think it's worth looking into the roundabout idea, maybe getting traffic counts, because I think you're right. That is a big intersection that a lot of people use. As far as like semi trucks, could we like restrict trucks going through there? I mean, obviously we need fire trucks to be able to go through, but for like long-term planning, that intersection's only going to get busier. So if we can move traffic through there, faster, I don't know. I think it's just worth looking at.
I totally agree, Rachel. I mean, like I said, I like them. We do have traffic counts. So we did that, less than a year ago. So we had our counter out there for a week or so. So we have the traffic counts. There was a traffic study done by a consultant of that intersection. CDOT also looked at it. It doesn't justify a signal, of course, and either does Empire and Mildred. That was one of the questions we wanted solved. And a roundabout is, the study didn't say, yes, you need to do that because of traffic, because the stacking that occurs at the stop signs right now isn't significant enough to trigger the various design standards into that. But I agree with you. It just helps with the flow of traffic now and in the future. So I'm not, So just let me take a look at it and I'll get you a bunch of information as much as we can and go from there.
And I'll just say, it seems like the easiest place to do it, considering we own like 3 of the 4 corners of that intersection. And then it'd be an opportunity to have like art in the middle of it, or like you said, good landscaping. So, we could go and look at different examples of roundabouts in other communities too. So, so thanks for taking this into consideration.
Well, you come over to Florida Road. I drive through there multiple times every day. It has that cool artwork, traffic flows. If that was a 4-way stop, it would be a nightmare at 7 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock at night. So it just works. Okay, well, I'll hurry up and get back to you as quickly as I can.
Bill, have you looked at the possibility of a roundabout in Empire and Mildred?
We haven't, Mike, because Montezuma reared its head first because of that pedestrian getting the hit and run, and just talking to Andy Brock about needs and traffic and looking at the accident reports and that turning lane, those left turn lanes. I mean, we've all been through them, create a lot of confusion, stop and go. People are halfway out in the intersection. They don't know who has the right of way. The Montezuma drivers were assuming that Mildred would stop and they don't have a stop sign, for all those reasons, we tackled this first. And so, but the traffic study did cover Empire and Mildred with really the same conclusions.
Thank you.
The traffic counts were very similar, even with the school. And of course, you get the peaks with school and soccer games on Saturdays and what have you. But there weren't any triggers and really anything close to triggers right now. And then we projected out population growth based on our historical past using the water conservation planning information, and within a 20-year time period, because we were looking at lights and those are really expensive, and it wasn't even close to ever justifying something like that. But 4-way stop can be easily replaced, well, not easily replaced, but can be replaced with the same justification as having a 4-way stop. It's It's just another traffic control method to use. So it was studied, but we haven't done any layouts or anything for down in that area yet.
David, do you have a question?
I do. Just a footnote. I think the art Committee for the Arts would welcome getting their foot in the door with an art project, sculpture, or whatever, for the roundabouts. So that's something to consider. I know a person who can broach that to them.
Thank you. Okay.
That's all we have, sir.
Comments?
I have, Mayor, if I may, I also agree with David and Rachel. I think a roundabout would be an ideal place to put public art, the sculptures and things, and the xeriscaping. We can kill two birds with one stone. The other thing I have, Phil, before you go, would you please share with the council what you shared with me on the rebate?
Oh, you bet. I'm sorry. Yeah. CDOT, you all know, we partnered with on the Hawkins ADA project this past year, had $170,000 savings in their project, and they're going to split it with us 50-50. So they're going to be returning 85,000 of the 225,000 we committed to this project, which I think is really, to me, it really speaks loudly about our working relationship with CDOT. Given the fact that this was over a $2 million project and we contributed 225, and they're going to split the savings with us 50-50. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that opportunity, and it really bodes well for us, multiple jurisdictions working cooperatively.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay, next item on the agenda is the general council discussion. Are there any issues we want to bring up in the next about 4 minutes before we start our regular session, or need to take a break? Okay.
Before we take a break, I've got a whole list of things to talk about during my time, but this is a perfect time to bring this up. Talking with Shaq this week, we have new county commissioners, and they would like a meeting with the council after January 21st. So if you guys would think about dates that you would want to meet, I can get this on the next agenda, and we can get a couple dates, and I'll shoot them back to Shaq. But the county commissioners are requesting a meeting, and I told him on our part it would be by Zoom, but I'm sure the council would want to meet with the new commissioners, so we will set it up and we'll get on the next agenda to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. We'll reconvene.